One of the most important psychological tasks, spiritual too, I think, that we have to negotiate as we come into our later years, the second half of life, is making sense of some of these regrets, some of these disappointments, those things that we sum up as unfinished business or the unlived life. Now, some of us are probably familiar with Erikson's 8 stages of psychosocial development. He thought that within each stage of our lifespan, there is a specific conflict that emerges, which we have to kind of successfully traverse in order to get to the next level of maturity. Okay, a little bit of a gauntlet that we go through our entire lives. Each stage has a kind of a tension of opposites built into it, okay? So there's an inner conflict that we negotiate at every single stage. It's not easy, you know? And somewhere around 65, the conflict is kind of between what he referred to as ego integrity, yeah, and despair. We bounce back and forth between this sense of integrity and despair. It's not an easy one for sure. So we start to begin weighing things up around midlife, and this kind of continues on for a while. It's an ongoing process. And somewhere around 65, this really kind of crystallizes, and we start kind of really synthesizing the meaning of our life, all right? Now, remember that the second half of life in general is different to the first, right? Because we know that we've built up all that ego, and we have to start also letting go of some of it. And somewhere around midlife, we know that the ego is not the full story. The ego is not the full story of us. The I only captures some of it. It's incomplete. We know there's more to us. So we are really kind of having to negotiate something a bit awkward here. The things that we invested with our certainties aren't holding anymore. That's uncomfortable. It should be uncomfortable. We may start to feel a little bit unsatisfied coming into the second half of life. We may feel a little disillusioned. We may feel busier than ever, but vaguely existentially fatigued or angsty. We might start doing all kinds of funny things. This is the midlife crisis that we talk about. So we might pursue things that harken back to our youth. We might engage with a lot of nostalgia. We might become preoccupied with staying young for a while, you know? We might start dressing a little bit younger. We might start to be feeling almost a little bit trapped in our work, trapped in our relationships, trapped in our roles, okay? And this is all normal. This is all the ego's discomfort with having to change, having to adjust to new values, having to adjust to a bigger worldview. So really what's going on here is this process of starting to sift and sort through what's important and what's not. We're sifting and sorting memories, values, relationships, feelings, emotions, this kind of thing, a sifting and sorting process. So I want you to maybe imagine it as this. Imagine that you have a box that you keep all your important stuff in, okay? But as time goes by, you have more and more stuff. And everything starts to spill out of the box. It's kind of everywhere. The box can't hold all the stuff that you have, okay? And you're feeling maybe a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit overwhelmed by this. And really what you start to realize is you're going to need to do 2 things. First of all, you're going to have to let go of some of that stuff that you no longer need. You don't need it, so you need to kind of get rid of it, be done with it. But also you're probably going to need a bigger box, okay? That is essentially what ego integrity means. That's what it is. It's the sifting and the sorting through and the wisdom to know what matters and doesn't, what you need to hold on to and what you need to let go of, okay? And then to be able to kind of take all those things and put them in a bigger box where there's more space, more room in the mind to contemplate what the meaning of it all is, okay? Now, that's the ego integrity that Erikson is talking about. And I think that it is quite similar to Jung's kind of concept of the self. What they're both kind of driving at is that if we can negotiate this uncomfortable sifting and sorting, we can reach a bigger place of wisdom. We can attain a wisdom from that if we can do the sifting and the sorting. Now, there is no magic moment here, right? We don't just kind of come into the second half of life or midlife and go, great, I've got it all figured out. Here's the meaning. It's all wonderful. I'm happy with it. Tick. It's not a box that you tick. We suffer for this sifting and sorting. This is not easy by any means, okay? And we're going to spend, really our 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and onwards doing a little back and forth, a little oscillating between feelings of acceptance, feelings of integrity, these are good feelings of it's okay, and feelings of disillusionment. It's not okay. It's not comfortable. I'm not happy. Okay. This is developmentally normal. If you're going through something like this is appropriate, right? This is like an inner tension between sentiments like, I did my best. I'm weighing it all up and I feel like I did my best. And the opposite of that, which is, why didn't I do more? The feeling of, I'm happy with where I've ended up. I'm okay with where I've ended up in life. It's okay. I can accept where I'm at. And something else like, I wish it all looked different. I can't bear the way it's looking right now. Okay? Something like, okay, when I look back, I can see the meaningful moments. I can draw strength from those. Those nourish me still. And the opposite, which might be something more like, oh gosh, what was the point of all of that? Right? Now, that's the oscillation that goes on. Now think about that. That is uncomfortable. One minute we feel fine, there's meaning, and the next minute we don't. And where is the meaning? That's the sifting and the sorting. What I'm saying is that this process costs us a bit. We do suffer a little bit in all of this. While we're doing this, think of it like this. Some people will be looking at their box of stuff, and they'll be thinking like, oh my gosh, what a mess. My stuff is everywhere. I can't find anything. It doesn't fit in the box. It's everywhere. I don't know what's important, what's not important. It can feel like a mess. Some people look at their box and they see only a few things and they focus really intently on them, right? They see one or two objects that are there that they wish weren't there, and they think those two objects are spoiling everything, okay? Some people will have a very tidy, organized box, everything in its place, but they start to feel like, geez, there's not much in my box, okay? This is something that we're all going to go through. It will look a little different for each person involved because it's going to be unique, just like people are unique. But stuff starts to come up where we're like, I'm not sure it's good enough. So we might direct this, it's not good enough, at ourselves. We might say, I haven't been good enough. We might direct this, it's not good enough, at the others around us. They haven't been good enough. They're the reason I'm not satisfied. We might even direct the it's not good enough sentiment toward God or our worldview or the world around us. Humanity is not good enough. There is a sense of angst. Something doesn't feel right. Again, perfectly normal. Now, here is the thing. Even if the box is a mess, even if the box looks a little bit empty, even if there's a few things in it we would prefer were not there, it all has meaning. There's a ton of raw meaning in all of it. The problem is not with the stuff that's in the box. It's the way the ego understands it. Your life and the sense of it's not good enough for some people is not the issue. The issue is that your ego is in the way. It's not able to understand it properly. So we have to work. The work is in assisting the ego to get out of the way so we can understand our life properly. And I think one of the things that comes to the fore in this process where the ego really, really struggles for control is this point around regret. Is this little piece around regret that we have to negotiate, 90% of us at least, all right? Now, But there is an important point that I really want us to take away from this and that we're going to speak about. If there is something there that maybe still hurts a bit, something that's a little bit sore, something that's a little bit painful, something a little lonely, shameful, something like this, these deeper parts, darker parts, this kind of thing. We all have these places. If there is something there that still hurts a bit, that's maybe a bit unfinished, it's very interesting though, because I think a lot of times this is like a signpost to that ageless self, all right? It's also a signpost to your values. If something is still painful, it tells you that something very important to you, something very important to who you are, was affected. In a roundabout way, with a kind of inverted lens, the things that still hurt tell us an enormous amount about what we hold dear. Okay, what's important to us, our values, our character strengths, the people that are important to us, the things that we loved, what we hold dear. Okay, so in a sense, there are things hidden, if you want, behind the regret, important things. Now, it takes a bit of work to uncover them. Because a lot of times all we see is the regret. We don't go underneath. We don't look underneath. We have to do the work of going underneath.